You are listening to the James Carpenter Podcast Show, episode number 6. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about this idea of being outwardly strong and inwardly weak and the journey that I've had with it. And this is what you're going to get out of it is I'm going to share with you 4 ways that I've discovered to dramatically create inward strength for myself. And I've phrased them as questions so that you have the opportunity to discover for yourself a dramatic change as well. And I promise you that if you take the time to do them, you'll be sensationally surprised by yourself with the answers that you come up with. Deal? Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. I want to start off by saying that I know what it's like to live by the phrase, fake it till you make it. And the amount of energy I spent trying to live in an unauthentic way. And it can also be, said that you're fake happy, if you will. And so much of my life was spent thinking this way that I needed to focus on the external things to make my internal voices go away. Things like title and position and house status and living a life of purpose and meaning because what I was doing made a difference. Now, feeling outwardly strong but inwardly weak, I like to think of it as on the outside, feeling like the eye of a hurricane, where it's calm and having the appearance of having it all. But then on the inside, the hurricane's outer bands raging. It's one of those things where it's making so much noise and so often feeling inadequate. I remember thinking this way when deciding where to go to college, which is why I applied to my local community college first instead of the university, believing that my grades weren't good enough. So why bother? Not that there's anything wrong with community colleges. I had a great time, but I didn't have my own back for fear of rejection. Now, I know the feeling of looking into a partner's eyes to explain why I felt the need to change jobs again, usually with the same rebuttal that, oh, this time will be different. This is what I really want to do. But the real reason so much of the time was accepting that new job because they said yes, and me not believing that anyone would want me in the first place. And, again, like I know what it's like to be in a job where everyone around you is telling you what a good job you're doing, but then having a hard boss who criticizes and points out the shortcomings and believing those criticisms like, okay, what do I need to fix now? But then appearing calm on the outside as though everything was hunky dory. And so my solution was to inundate myself with self-help books, podcasts, conferences, speakers, believing that the grass was greener on the other side. I believed that there was this secret formula out there that I just hadn't found yet. One that would provide me with this feeling of meaning and purpose. So I searched and I listened, and I even made up a list of some of the books and the podcasts that I have done over the years. It includes the Who Moved My Cheese, the Dave Ramsey, his podcast with his Entree Leader series, the Robert Kiyosaki books, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, the Rich Dad's Cash Flow Quadrant, the 4-Day Work Week, or the Linchpin, Are You Indispensable? A ton of Dale Carnegie books, the How to Win Friends and Influence People, the Art of Public Speaking, The Leader in You, How to Stop Worrying and Start. And then there was John Acuff's book, Start. And so I know what it's like to have low self-confidence, feeling like I needed to wake up earlier, work longer hours, all in an effort to fix something that was broken inside. Now, everybody has an inner desire to do better and to be better. And I'm not talking about that natural desire, so to speak, but I believed for the longest time this was different because I was exhausted all of the time trying to appear outwardly put together in a confident way. And it wasn't until I had this breakthrough of sorts that I could finally shift my focus on the inward and less on the outward. And I want to share that with you. Here's how my journey has been altered for the better. I hired a life coach. I started to clean up my thinking and beliefs that were holding me back and that were keeping me down. Not to say that it's all done and, that there's not more work to be done, but I'm so much better and farther along than where I was. And I feel pretty good. I'm here to tell you. And so I want to share with you what that looks like for me today. It's something that you can do also if you're looking to have a similar inner strength. It started for me with doing a thought download every day. I got out a pen and paper and I wrote everything down that I was thinking and feeling in that moment. Now, I've done it at night. I've done it in the morning. So my experience of doing it at night was I still had much of the day racing through my brain and all the things that still needed to, get done. So I found that mornings are better because, I feel fresh. And mostly like the noise, mainly because the noise in my brain has quieted, not always, but most of it. And then after writing down my thoughts that I had about myself, what did I like? What did I dislike? I then get to observe what's happening. How many of my thoughts are negative? How many of them are positive? And then asking the question, oh, is that true? Are they true? I never before questioned my own beliefs. Now, this was some powerful juju. And it gets better. I now get to choose whether or not to keep that thought by deciding if it serves me. If not, then I can simply choose a new one that does serve me. Like what this looks like for me is all the negative thinking around, I'm not smart enough, I need to work harder, how can she love me, I won't figure this out. So I get to replace all of that with something that's neutral, something that I can believe and something that's true. And for me, it was I'm capable or something like that. And I'm here to tell you, this is game changing. I get to feel more in control, more positive, and more loving to myself. And life has become more fun. Now, not to say that all those negative thoughts, won't keep showing up uninvited, because they will, and they will for you. But here's the trick. Don't give them authority. This now becomes inward strength, where you start to question your own thoughts. And I want to give you a method to create your own inward strength. And I want you to think about and answer these 4 questions that I told you about at the beginning of the podcast. The first one is asking yourself, how do you manage stress? How do you manage it? Like when you feel stressed, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel like, oh, I don't know how, you know, how do you manage that situation? Now, if you're anything like me, I use food, and so is it the cookie? Is it the drink? Or is it Netflix? And if you think about it, these are all the same. They're all distractions when you boil them down to their purest form. And they're distractions from not wanting to feel bad or to not feel a negative emotion because none of us like to feel like, well, I don't know. I don't know how. So really explore that with yourself of, how do you manage stress? What's your go-to? How do you go about that? Now, I've done countless thought downloads on each of these, and it's proven quite remarkable how my answers have changed simply because I wasn't intentional before. And that's been pivotal to my success, and it can be for you. So the second question is, how do you create joy in your life? I love how this question is phrased because it leads you to believe and to know that you're the creator of your joy and happiness. Isn't that awesome? And so I want you to, first take in this idea that you're the creator of your joy. You get to fill your day with as much happiness as you please. The third question, what gives your life meaning? And this was an interesting one for me for the longest time because I couldn't answer it. I couldn't tell you. And I've since come to the belief that you don't magically find purpose, for most of us. Maybe you're different, but for the rest of us, you get to make it. You get to show up each day as the person you want to be, and you get to do the things that you enjoy doing, and you get to decide how you want to experience life, as you want, because you get to choose to. And that's so amazing. You see, we don't need to change your life. And I didn't need to change my life, but I needed to change the way that I was thinking about my life. And for me, I now want to be an example of winning at life with abnormal background, like moving around a lot when I was growing up. I'm a military brat. And then later, not having two parents in the home, seeing multiple counselors because of it, feeling like I wasn't good enough. And now, fast forward through all of it, living a life I love. And so, again, I want to be an example of winning at life with an abnormal background. And it really stems down to, the focus on the work, on the inward rather than on the outward. Does that make sense? You with me? And then the fourth question is asking yourself, do you believe you're living the life you're meant to live? Now, I emphatically said no. How many of you agree with that? Because I didn't know how to get there, or I tell myself, I'm not doing what I should be doing, but then I couldn't answer what it was I should have been doing. Isn't that funny? And so there you have it. Those are the four ways that I've discovered to dramatically increase and to create inward strength for myself. And for me, it involved taking a long look in the mirror, hiring a life coach, and doing the work. You got it? Okay. So here's what I want to offer you. As you look at your responses, like as you go through this exercise, I want you to really pay attention to your answers. And I want you to know that you get to choose what your life gets to be like. You get to decide the experience you'll have. No one gets to do that but you. And I want you to try on this thought, it's like trying on a pair of clothes, that where you are today, everything that's happened in your life, all of your experiences up to this point, and everything that you've been through were meant to happen. You are where you are today for a reason. And there's nothing more and there's nothing less that you can do to be more complete. You are worthy as is. Think about that. You can't say anything more to be anything greater because you're already it. Isn't that fascinating? It's thinking of it in this way or in this light. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. Isn't that so good? It's coming from this place of your thinking where you become inwardly strong and it now complements you appearing as outwardly strong. And this is why I coach, because sometimes you need someone to get in the trenches with you. Oftentimes we call it to God, to hear our cries and our supplications, our sufferings. And I'm here to tell you the universe responds each time. Sometimes in the form of a friendly neighbor or a compassionate boss. And then there's the coach leading you through what you can't seem to see for yourself. Someone who guides you and inspires you to motivate you, to provide to you the additional accountability. Someone who's committed to you, even when you may not be committed to yourself, who pushes you through your own thinking that's getting in your way, because that's truly the only thing holding you back from realizing the life that you want, the life that you love. And I want to say, join me. Hire me as your coach. Let's make your life better. And it's simple. Simply schedule a mini call with me at eliteweightsolutions.com/join-me. Because a small change repeated often will have a bigger positive impact and then a big change that never gets off the ground. The point is to start. So don't wait another day living from this place of fake happy, because there's a better way. Remember, we don't need to change your life, rather you're thinking about your life. And I'll give you the tools and resources to make it happen. So go there now and schedule your time. Again, it's eliteweightsolutions.com/join-me. All right, my friends, I hope you've enjoyed, and I look forward to next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, if you like this week's podcast, then you should check out my 6-week online weight loss program, where we'll focus on your hormones to get you to your natural weight and look at what's happening in your life and why food is just a distraction that's keeping you from loving your life. Join me at eliteweightsolutions.com/join-me.